Hello everyone. So you all already know me. So I'm Kanam, and I'll be taking show and tell for Julia package management and development. So so first question that comes into mind is why we always need a package manager. I think uh, I assume that you must have a prior experience with some sort of package managers, like you have pip for Python, Cargo for Rust, Maven for Java, and npm for Node.js. So Julia has its own package manager called pkg.jl. And the one thing that I really like about pkg.jl that is different from other package managers is that it is inbuilt into Julia. Pip also has an inbuilt version of package manager inside Julia, but they don't promote it that way. But you don't have in Julia, you don't have to quit your current Julia session to add new packages. You can do it in the same session and continue your work. So no variables are lost during that. This is one of the really, I think you will understand its importance once you start developing and get into Julia mode. So there are three modes of using package manager. I think you must have already known the first and the second one. So the first one is fairly simple. You use the package called pkg, and then if you want to add some package, you just add it like this way. I hope this was already known by everyone. The second way is using the special REPL they have made. You can use the button, the closing brace button. It will open up the PKG REPL. So if you want to check what all commands are available in it, just press question mark and press enter. You will get a list of commands, what all is possible inside that. And I'll be covering many of the important commands in this. I won't be covering the registry part. I think that would be, if possible, that should be another show, and we should have another show and tell about adding and registering our packages. But rest of the command, almost all I will be covering today. The third, which is not very known to everyone, is this PKG STR mode. So once I have already done this using PKG. Now there is there is thing like in Python for declaring a string as bytes. You write b. Uh, so this gets in converted to bytes instead of just a normal string. So this b is called a macro. Uh, so for any string qualifier, if you want to make your own qualifier like this, you have to make a macro called, suppose you want to make a qualifier called abc, so abc underscore str, and whatever you do define inside that would be your macro, and then you can. So yeah, I haven't used any arguments in front of this abcr, that's why it's giving me this problem. So similarly, pkg.str is also a macro. So you so let's so if you want to use this macro, just write pkg add. So this will accept all the commands that you are using inside this pkg REPL. So this comes very handy when you are writing code for CI and all. So probably you might need it when you'll be doing more serious. So this is not PKG specific. This is general Julia modes. First mode is Julia mode, just normal Julia developer. The PKG mode that I just tell you about, and the shell mode. If you press semicolon and then empty Julia REPL, this will turn into shell mode. So now whatever you command will be you will write would run in your normal shell. And the finally is help mode. This make you, if suppose you have a function and you have declared some documentation for it, you can search for the documentations here. For example, so this is how you can search for documentation. Okay, let's start with using this package manager. So like we have virtual environment in Python, we can make our own Python environment. We can make our own environment in Julia itself. So let's put Julia for now, and I'll make a new directory. To instantiate, to start a new environment in this folder, you have to either do it like this: project equals to the, now you have to put the path of the folder where you want to start a project. So I'll use dot, because dot means the current folder, and this will open up Julia in a separate environment of package tutorial. Or you can even normally open Julia and do activate. This will open in the same folder and activate the environment. Note that it haven't yet made a project.toml file, because no dependencies has been added. So you can see there are no project.toml or manifest.toml files yet. Please, if you have any doubts, please interrupt me if it's okay to me. Okay, so now we have our environment setup.
Kanav?
You might be, hello, yes,
Yeah, Rohan here. Sorry. How did you enter shell mode?
in using semicolon.
Now you're in shell, right?
Yes, you can do whatever.
Normal shell commands.
Oops, sorry. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now we want, we all know where are environments used. Environments are generally used for projects in general. For we generally use a single environment for a single project. So we are already in our PKG tutorial environment. So you can add any dependencies using add command. So suppose you want to add differential equations. So this will search for the online Julia registry. Uh, there is a registry called General Registry. It is hosted on GitHub. So it searches for the particular package called differential equations. If it finds such package, it downloads the latest tagged version, not master branch, but latest tagged version, and downloads it into your PC. Uh, all the packages of Julia are stored inside .julia folder. All the packages, all the development packages, all the artifacts are stored in .julia. But you have added that package as a dependency for this project. So if you take a look at the folder now, you'll see that there are two files called project.toml and manifest.toml. So there are no other files, no, not even hidden files. So there are no specific things stored inside your folder like we have node modules. It doesn't store, so you don't have to download it again and again, like unlike uh, node, npm and node. So yes, so to check the current dependencies, you can always do st or maybe status. So it lists that this is the package dependency currently of project.toml. Okay. So project.toml just stores the projects which are dependencies, and it also stores the compatibility. It also stores the compatibility constraints that you want in your project. Similarly, we can remove the package again using rm. So it's empty now. Project.toml is empty, but manifest.toml probably not is not empty. I'm not sure about that. Let me try. Oh, okay. So it got smartly deleted by the Julia itself. The both of the files are still there, but they don't actually do much to your project now. Now, most of us will be contributing to some projects. You can there is no need to make a separate environment. You can, but if you are working on one project, so you don't probably need to make a new environment. But I personally work with multiple projects, so it is advised to
Kanab,
not. Yes.
so Laksh was asking, how did you start the environment? He did it in the beginning itself, Laksh, I think.
Yes. So I'll start it again. You can either you can start Julia and press the brace button, the button just I'm not sure about your layout, the closing square bracket button. So opening that would open this pkg reference, and now you can activate the path of the folder. That is the same folder, so I'll use dot. This will activate the current project. So now you are in this environment. Is it okay now, Lakshmi?
Yes, so activate is the keyword. Activate starts your environment, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So as I was telling, probably you will be working on one project, but it might be case that you are working on two really unrelated projects. So in that case, you might want to make a separate environment for both of them, and then you want to start developing on them. So to develop a particular package, let me think of something that I haven't developed yet. Okay, so okay, even better. It's already there. So when you do dev a package, it just literally git clones the master branch of a particular project, and it stores the project inside .julia /dev /modeling toolkit, or whatever package you want to develop. Like as I see many of you are working on plots.jl, so you might have done dev plots.jl to work on it. So if you check the status now, you'll see that it not only specifies the version you are using, but it also specifies the path you are using. Why is that so? It is because now you have done dev modeling toolkit. It means that you want to do some changes. So on not only this version specifier is enough. You also a path to need a path to specify where you are working. So if you now open up, these are all the packages I am developing. So those are not important, but this got cloned over here, and you can start working on it. And yeah, that's it. So you can even start your development by cloning the thing. Like if you want that see that I have this climate machine.gl. This is not registered on the Julia registry. So you have to first clone the repository, and then do this uh, dev the complete path of the folder. Okay. So yeah. So this now came up here. Okay. If you have any questions, please ask. This might get confusing now.
Okay.
So while developing a package, should we first create an environment and then dev that package, or can we just dev that package and activate that package's project.toml?
Um, that depends on what you want to do. Like you probably need to activate the cloned package, uh, activate the cloned package environment only if you want to, add or remove some of its dependencies. But suppose you want to just edit its code, so you don't need to enter its environment, but you might want to make a new environment so that it doesn't conflict any dependencies on your default environment. uh, yes, on that does that solve your issue, Jyotesh?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. uh, One thing that I forgot, that there is a default environment file, and that is located at yeah. So there is this is a package for this is the default environment, and these are the default project and manifest.toml files. So when you open Julia normally, just Julia, these this environment is activated by default. So if you work on different versions of Julia, you will see that there is a 1.3 or 1.5 that is going to be released. Okay, moving on. So yes, I see that already many people are aware of this. But if you develop a package in a particular environment, and then you write using climate machine.js, so this will use the package in your current session. But if you change anything now, it won't be reflected in this current session. You have to restart Julia. But there is a workaround for it. There is a package called revise.jl that is very helpful. It is the hot loader of Julia. So even if you have an active session, you can do using revise. Then you have to do using any other module, and then you can change anything you want, and it will be reflected in the current session. Okay. Okay, now that okay, I'll quit this. So now I am done developing a particular package in this environment, and I don't want it to be fixed on a particular version. Like when you do dev, there are no there are no updates. Like if you normally add a project, your package dependencies will get updated time to time whenever you do something that changes the environment. So, but when you do dev, they won't be updated. They'll be only stick to the master branch or the current branch you are working on. So, uh, yeah. So when you are done working and you want to allow it to get updated, and you don't want to work it again. So you have to do free differentiate.
There is no tab completion in the package
No,
management.
I removed the dependency while showing you all. So there is tab completion now. Modeling toolkit would be, yeah. So now what will happen is this will be changed from this would be changed from the developed version to version 3.2. See, I haven't updated modeling toolkit since a long time, so that is not a good practice. So I have not fixed these issues deliberately because I want to show you all in this session itself. So you can see that current version is version 3.10.2. So if you do st, it it got freed of its development version and it got promoted to the current latest tagged version. So free is a very good command when you have to resolve conflicts. I'll get to it later. So okay, so this is a general. This is not just limited to Julia package management, but it is general question and general confusion that what is the difference between package and project. So any code written is project, but the projects which can be reused by others are called packages. So you want your work to be used in other packages as a normal library, so that projects gets promoted to package. So in Julia, we have both projects and packages, as you all know. So minimum requirement of a project is that you must have a project.toml file and you must have a manifest.toml file. So as I told that packages are a project too, so packages too have these files. But for a package to become a project, no, sorry, what did I say? Okay, for a project to become a package, you need to have some particular conditions met. I'll discuss what these conditions are. So let's start by making a new package of our own. So suppose we want to make a package called uh, my new package. What this command will do is make a very simple package
And
template.
sorry,
Yes.
Kanak.
Yes.
Yeah, so normally we have these naming conventions. So the package naming convention is starting with capitals, is it? All the
Yes.
packages should all uppercase and
I never gave a thought to it. Let me try.
I read it somewhere that you
Oh,
can
you
you
can
can
make, yes,
you can, but I think there is normally a convention that please use
yes,
capital. Okay.
yes. Okay. So if you open shell mode, you will see that a new package is made, and this is the structure that this command made. It will make a project.toml that will be probably empty but some meta information, and also it contains a folder called src where all your code will go, and a file called mynewpackage.jl, or the same name you have given to your complete package. The same name you will get a .jl file. And so this is the contents of file right now. So it only contains one function called greet, and a module by same name. So this is a point worth noting that in a particular package you can have only one module, but you can nest new modules inside your project. So I can declare another module within this my new package, but I cannot declare a new module after this end. That won't be discovered by Julia. So yes, so you can access those packages by my new package dot
Kanak,
nested project. Yes.
sorry. I'm a little confused about that directory structure. See, on top, the ls is listing project.toml already.
Hmm.
And when you did tree, my new package, so that project.toml is again inside my new package also.
No, the this ls is the current environment is. I'm currently in the oops, I'm currently in the
Uh,
package tutorial where I had declared a new environment. But inside this, there is a folder called my new package that contains a new package.
so that outside project.toml is from PKG tutorial, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this is the general structure of the main entry point file called by the name of the package.jl. And if you want to see, so in this you can see that there are 4 fields. name, UUID, authors, and version. So these 4 fields are very important for making a particular project to become into a package. It should have a name. It should have a UUID. UUID is nothing but just a randomly generated unique ID. So suppose if you have a bad luck and you get a UUID that already clashes to some package on the general registries, you cannot register a package in that case. And you have authors. This is just pulled up from your Git configuration, and this is the default first version called 0.1.0. So all of this is required at minimum for a particular project to become a package. Now you can, like I am currently in the package tutorial environment, so I still cannot add this package. And Julia tells us why you can't add this project, because this is not a Git repository. Everything that happens in Julia is very GitHub and Git centric. So the versions that you use for tagging, that we use in tagging a particular project on GitHub, is the same version that you get in Julia. So there's a hard dependency between Julia and Git, but you can still dev this package. Okay, so you see now if you do, I do st, the my new package is now a dependency, a development dependency of my current environment called pkg tutorial. Is it clear to everyone, or did I confuse a bit? Okay, I'll move on. So okay, okay, sorry, so that was all I told you before. So now we'll talk about compatibility constraints. Julia follows Semver constraints. Semver is a general rule that different package managers follow. Semver means semantic versioning. So you have, if you want to declare some dependency, some compatibility, like currently the package.toml file, uh, currently project.toml file just contains the dependencies and their UUIDs, but it doesn't adds any particular constraint on what versions it would use. So you can add new dependencies, add new constraints on. Okay, so I want modeling toolkit at least greater than 3.0. So you can add that. So to add that, you have I didn't get any good way to edit to make do it a bit Julia way. So we'll just do it using normal some file editor. So as you can see, this is the same toml file. To add a dependency, to add a constraint, I'll use compat. If I'm wrong. So this added a particular compatibility constraint to my particular environment. So now if I instantiate my project, okay, so it was already uh, satisfying my constraint, so it didn't do anything. But if it now had if it had broken the constraint, so it would have been
So what does instantiate do exactly?
yes,
And
I forgot.
can you show it breaking also?
Breaking.
You just said that nothing broke just now because it satisfied your compatibility. But in case it does not satisfy, can you show that also?
Let me try. Probably I already have these this complete history. I haven't cleaned my Julia projects, so I don't think that I will be able to reproduce this breaking. So I'm really sorry about that. So when you written down 2.1.0, it doesn't mean that uh, this exact version we would be using. It means something else. So there are three types of specifiers you can use to specify your constraint. The default one is caret specifier. You either don't write anything or you write a caret. So this both of them means the same. What does this mean is that the most significant most significant digit is fixed, and all other bits can be changed. So this means that I can use any version from 2.1.0 till 3.0.0 excluded. Uh, so did you get this, or is there any confusion? Okay, so so as I told you, 1 point x means one from 1 point x to 2, excluding the right hand limit. Similarly, for 0.2 point x caret specifier, it means 0.2 point x to 0.3. Notice that first is still unchanged. So because the most significant digit is the second one, and it got changed. Now moving on to tilt specifier. This is a more constrained version of caret specifier. So instead of making instead of one if we if we wrote tilde 1.2, it would have mean 1.2 point x, suppose. So it would have mean 1.2 point x to 1.3, not 2. This constrains your dependency more. And then there is a third there are third regular specifier called normal arithmetic. This would pin the modeling toolkit to exactly 2.1.0, or we can also use greater than equal to 2.1.0, which means that all of the versions, there is no upper limit of what versions we want to use. So whichever version is greater than 2.1.0 would work for this particular project. Okay, so these are all the compatibility constraints. So when you would be using normal packages, there is a very minimum chance that you will ever have the problem of resolving conflict. But if you have problem, that would be a global problem, because something broke the complete dependency tree globally. That's why you will be getting the same problem in your computer. But but conflicts are more possible if you have if you are developing some package. So suppose when you add a package, they are generally smartly updated. Like suppose package 1 needs at least version greater than equal to 1.0 version of package 3, and package 2 also needs package 3 but at least 1.3 version. So Julia would smartly install 1.3 version instead of 1.0 or 1.1 or 1.2. So this is possible when you normally add your package. But and yes, if package 1 gets updated and it's now really needs at least 1.4 version of package 3, it will update package 3 to 1.4. And suppose the maintainers of package 1 did any mistake and they want to use less than version of 1.0 of package 3, then there would be a conflict. That is very rare, because generally people use greater than equal to specifier or caret specifier. So they generally limit the lower limit of a particular package. So you don't have such conflicts generally. But when you develop a package, but that particular package won't get updated, and the rest of the packages will get updated. whenever you get a chance. So in this case, you can have conflict. So how to resolve such conflict? Such first weapon is for you to use is the resolve command. Sometimes it is only due to that Julia hasn't been updated since long, and you have directly cloned a particular repository and added to your Julia dependency manually. So you might get conflict in that case. But if you use resolve, it tries to find the best configuration of multiple packages and try to resolve that conflict automatically. It works like 70% of time for me, but problems get worse when there are a lot of packages. So I have currently a really bad case in my laptop. My default environment contains so much packages, and so much packages are on development. This is not good. Please don't make your environment look like this. So i'll I'll help you. I'll tell you what to do when you get this such conflict. uh, I tried to reproduce a conflict myself, but I wasn't able to do because everything is very updated. If you keep your things updated in your Julia environment, you won't probably get any problem. So talk about some small case, like suppose one of the normal packages got updated and pinned that requires a version of a dev package, like the equal to specifier. It deliberately want to use a particular single version of some package, but you have developed that package. So the Julia package manager won't update your developed package. So you have a simple conflict now. This can be solved by rebasing your work on master. So suppose you are working on a PR, and uh, and the PR got very stretched. Like meanwhile you are working on this PR, three versions of the same packages got released. So and suppose a second package came and want to use the new updated version. So what you might want to do is rebasing your work on master. So that the current latest features are included in your particular branch. So then you can easily use the then you won't get such conflicts in your particular. So there is like I told you that this is not a good thing. So this might create a dependency hell when you will get resolve conflicts which I don't have. I'm really sorry. I don't have that photo of dependency hell, but you can actually try to go to Julia Julia Slack and see that people are posting so long dependency hell that people that there are so hard that people don't want to even help. That is not a good practice. So best thing to do is keep it keep it keep your environment clean. But even if you get a particular dependency hell, the best thing would be to start deleting your packages that you are no start freeing up your packages that you are no more developing. So currently I'm working on climatemachine.jl, defect-based.jl, and ordinary defect. Rest of the packages I don't actively work on. So what would be the best thing to do is start freeing up those packages. So even if they are dependencies of some packages or your project or something, it will just update the package from the development to the latest tagged version. So things will be good. But see, this thing, what does this trace means? This trace means that because you have fixed the version to version 4.2.0, it also fixed all these packages to particular version, like sundials 4.2.0 needed offset arrays only version 1.0.4, but latest version of 1.1.0 had released. But due to your pinning of sundials 4.2.0, it wasn't able to upgrade the particular dependency. So you see, this is quite old for me. uh, this might be like 1 or 2 months old. So you can see it updated for 4.2.0 to 4.2.3, and this small change had prevented all these packages from upgrading. So you see, a single package can create a lot of problems for you. Now we st our we can see that sundials is not developed anymore. We can remove other packages. This was latest, so this was not stopping any particular package from doing anything bad. This is my personal project, so, and it doesn't have any dependency like it only had one dependency called static array. So this won't make any problem for me. So I won't free this package up. Problematic package would be this defect flux package, because this particular package has lots of dependencies, and I have I have installed it as a developed dependency. So if I am not developing it anymore, it's probably a good idea to free it up. Okay. So you get the idea of what to do when you get a particular resolve conflict. So first thing you want to do is try to run resolve, and it might fix your issue for you. The second thing would be to try to rebase your current version to the rebase to the try to rebase your current work to the master. And the third thing you want to do at the last would be to remove some old packages you are not developing anymore. If you keep these three things in mind, probably you won't ever get these some issues. Try to clean. I'm not sure if I haven't faced such issues in Python or Rust yet, because I haven't done such active development in those languages. But I suppose that such issues also arise there also. Okay. Other useful commands that you have in PKG. So this is instantiate command. When you clone someone's repository and wants it dependency installed, it is just like npm install or pip install r requirement.txt. This is the first step you do when you clone a particular project. But if you do dev using the internal Julia dev ordinary defect, it will automatically do for you. GC command, it will remove old artifacts. I forgot to write. It also removes old packages that are not used frequently. Suppose you haven't used a particular pack that it tries to do it by use. Do you guys know what code coverage is? So code coverage means that uh, when you run a particular function, uh, what all what all internal functions and internal dependencies the code went through. So it keeps a track of what coverages you have done in the past. So, and see, if you haven't used this package for so long, it will delete that dependency, and whenever you want to do it next, it will automatically install and download and install it for you. Next step is update. So when you do add package, so it would download the latest version. But in the course of time, it might be that you haven't installed any package or doesn't, and you haven't done any of the package manager things. So if you want to update your packages, you want to do update. Please keep in mind that whenever you add a new package, it will also try to update your packages so that dependencies are automatically handled. pre-compile. This is something I myself don't know much about how that works or something, but it greatly speeds up your code, so that when you actually use the particular package, it doesn't compile again and again. Though when you though you have JIT compilation in Julia, so still it doesn't help you much during the runtime. So next step, this is question mark, or you can even type help. The both will show you the same output, all of the available commands. And this is a particularly magical command that saves a lot. At least it is very helpful for me. Is undo. So I supposedly by mistake I added a package instead of deving it. So undo is my go-to command. Then that helps me. This is again a okay. So before heading further, do you have any doubts?
Yeah, I have one doubt. Does using undo repeatedly, does it pop all the previous commands one by one, or is undo
Yes.
used for just one
No,
previous
it's a
command?
general. It is an undo for all of the commands that you do, except some of the some of the things like GC. You cannot undo GC. So,
All
yeah.
right, thank you.
So next is when should you commit manifest.toml file? So this is not a not particular to Julia, but it's also particular to general any package managers like npm. You have in npm you have package.json and package.log. Package.json is uh, is equivalent to project.toml, and manifest.toml is equivalent to package.log.json. So what do these two files have different? Project.toml file just contains the compatibility constraints and lists all of the dependencies. Like it lists that, so okay, I want ordinary defect, but I want at least 5.4.0, and I want random.jl, but I want this particular version. It at least this particular version. So project.toml only stores that particular things, but manifest.toml includes all of the smallest details. Like when suppose I added ordinary defect.jl. So what changes would be seen in both of the files? Project.toml will add compatibility constraints and dependencies, but manifest.toml file will log the exact version that was installed. So what difference do these two files make? Manifest.toml files, if you commit manifest.toml file to your upstream repository, it will help you to make it very it will help you to make it stable, because you want, suppose you're working on a project that needs to be up every time, and you don't want to go through all of that dependencies. Suppose some particular package broke, you don't want your package, don't want your project to be broken as well. So if you have a manifest file in your project, this will lock the particular package to a particular version, and no matter who clones the same project, your project will always work. This approach is used in climatemachine.jl because they run very important simulations and don't want their work to be put at halt just because a particular other package broke. But Project Toml has its own Project Toml only have its own upsides too. Like you will always have updated up to dated the packages that you require. So suppose you have written that I want ordinary defect 5.4 at minimum, but 5.5 added a particular patch that speeds up computation by 10x. So you probably want that change in your package too. So in short, if you have manifest.toml in your your project would be stable. But if you don't have manifest.toml in your project won't be that stable, but it would be always stay up to date. Do you any have so okay, this was the end of my show and tell. If anyone have any question, please ask me. If you don't have any questions, then probably Julia Slack is a very good place to ask such questions. Uh, the best channels to ask about package development, PKG development, and PKG issues is either help desk or PKG dev. People will help you out probably very soon. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, Kanav, thank you. Yeah, you can stop your sharing.
Okay.